Good morning. This is Dr. David Crocker with Solutions by Dr. Dave. It is Random Topic Saturday, and I am sitting at the office. I've got my coffee from Fourth Coast Cafe and Bakery. They're one of the jewels in the Kalamazoo area. Wonderful coffee, wonderful people, wonderful atmosphere. I founded a couple of my companies sitting in at that coffee shop on my computer, so I have a lot of affection, I suppose, for that particular coffee shop, the Fourth Coast. Go there if you get a chance. So I thought today I might speak a little bit about something that affects all of our lives, and that is the emotion of anger. And my emphasis when it comes to emotions that we consider to be negative in general terms is to try to, in order to avoid kind of knee-jerk emotional responses. I think it's important to take these types of things in a non-judgmental, non-moral sort of veins, especially when we're exploring them, to get a little bit better understanding and kind of release maybe a little bit of the moral judgment associated with it. So anger. It's an emotion we're all familiar with. It's first off, it's energizing, right? When you get angry, it motivates you. You just tend to speak very clearly. You tend to speak very truthfully. You almost in a fight or flight type of position. Things become quite black and white. We tend to make big decisions often when we're angry without thinking through the nuance. And so, one of our challenges in modern life is to recognize when our emotions are starting to grab a hold of us, whether it's anger, sadness, even joy or happiness, and when those emotions are starting to guide us in directions that might not be in our own best interest. So that's the reason I've decided to talk a little bit about anger today. So in my exploration, both inwardly and in the literature and in the old masters, if you will, anger, in my estimation, it comes from a sense of unfairness. And if you think about that from an evolutionary standpoint, it's imperative that in a social situation, particularly when it comes to food and some of the basics of life, that you be treated fairly. Otherwise, you'll perish, right? And one of the analogies or one of the examples I like to use are packs of dogs, where when they're chasing prey, they're working essentially as a unit, right? The individuality to some degree evaporates, and they fairly effortlessly and seamlessly work as a unit to run down their prey. And then once the prey has been subdued, if you will, and once the benefit of the cooperation is less, then the dogs or the pack will essentially take on a very individualistic state of mind, if you will, and will fight each other, right, to the point where they injure and possibly even kill each other for the spoils of the hunt, particularly if they're very hungry. And I think, if you're part of a pack and you've participated in the hunt and then you're denied the spoils of the hunt, then you get angry, right? And there's evolutionarily, again, anger is very energizing, and it's an important situation where your right to the spoils needs to be protected, otherwise you perish. So that being said, I just wanted to point out how anger is normal and natural evolutionarily. A lot of these things that we carry into modern culture that we consider to be baggage or harmful actually have quite useful roots. So I think that helps to take some of the maybe the judgment and the takes some of the judgment out of it, I suppose, the good and the bad. It just is what it is. And I think that, of course, as I often reference back to, anger was a much more useful in the days of scarcity, and that wasn't that long ago for us. Evolutionarily, the hunter-gatherer days, scarcity of energy, which we don't really have now. We now mostly have diseases of excess rather than deficiency. And so this anger, which we feel arise in us when we're being treated unfairly, often creates, again, a very binary way of thinking. It creates rash responses, which often has a lot of ramifications, even among the people you love, maybe particularly among your family and friends. You know, you behave irrationally or in an angry way, even if you feel justified. With time, you realize that the karma or the waves created by that are not worth it. And as you get older, you don't have the energy or the desire to deal with that type of negativity and drama, or you learn that you don't want to. Now, you know, I don't want to address a negative emotion without at least touching on what I consider to be nice ways of dealing or helping to deal with these emotions. And the first, of course, is to recognize anger when you feel it. You know what it feels like, but recognize it, right? Don't deny that you feel angry or feel like that you shouldn't feel angry. That's okay. And that's the second step, is accepting it. You know, anger is something that's normal and natural. Accept the fact that you feel angry. Allow it to be without perhaps acting on it. And then investigate it. You know, what is anger? Look into the objective reality of anger and what it represents, and why you feel it, and why it's normal to feel it. And in examining what it is and investigating it, we often can move through and beyond the anger. And then the final was to recognize that, you didn't bring anger into the equation. It's part of, it happens at a lot of different levels in the animal kingdom. And, you didn't choose to have anger as part of your emotional repertoire. And so don't blame yourself, but for the sake of your own happiness, explore it further. Recognize it, accept it, investigate it, and then recognize that it's not all about you. So that's one exercise in helping to deal with anger. Another is gratitude, thinking through. It's not difficult if you start thinking and looking around at the things in your life that you're truly grateful for. And it just changes your state of mind. It changes you physiologically, mentally. When you're in a gracious state, you tend to be more relaxed. You tend to be more compassionate, giving, nuanced, wise, all of those things. So learning to find that safe, comfortable space within you so that you can operate from there, I would say, is can be quite rewarding. And so anger, what else would I say about anger? Thich Nhat Hanh says, treat anger like a crying child. It should be as soon as you see it in yourself, it should be your first priority. Meaning, go to that, explore it, recognize it, accept it, investigate it, and so forth, so that you're objectifying it in a sense and watching what happens with it rather than getting swept up in it and all of the negativity and the karma that often comes with it. So again, in our modern day, this anger, this tendency toward anger, serves us a lot less, and so using our higher brains to moderate and understand anger better certainly has the potential to make us happier and feel more in communion with the people around us. Have a great day. Love you guys.